But one of the things that I like the most about my own relationship and that I really pride us on is like building our empires together, making each other the best version of ourselves. And I know that you guys do that too. I've heard your stories. Tell me a little bit about the dynamics of the relationship.
Yeah, well, I love that. And like I see on social media and stuff, like how supportive you guys are of each other, but like you feel it immediately when you're with you guys in person. It's really cool and special. But yeah, I totally feel that way. Like Eric and I have always kind of ebbed and flowed with each other of like what we want to do or if we weren't happy doing this. And we never really hesitated to support each other, like making moves. Mm-hmm. And that's something where like looking back, I'm like, maybe I didn't need to leave this job to do that. Or that, sometimes you'd like chase something and be like, I could have stayed longer. But like, I never regretted any of it. And I was always so appreciative that like, because I wouldn't say I'm fearless in all things, but when it comes to like taking chances career-wise or like booking a one-way ticket to LA, like, what's the worst thing? I fly back home, or like I'll find another job or something like that. And so we've been that way together. Even like early on, before we were married, I bought a condo in North Hollywood when like no one understood why you would buy a condo in North Hollywood, mm-hmm. which was a good move.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And it was like, kind of risky. And I was like using all my savings and that, but I really believed in like what I was doing at the time. And he believed in me. And every couple of years up until now, we're like, I think in our forever home, but we would move and make money off the house. And like, it was something that a lot of our friends joke about, like on New Year's, our friend Dan was like, okay, well, I have Kalver house from 2022 to 2024. So you guys have to move tomorrow.
Right.
But it just kind of showed that like, we're willing to take chances together, but we calculate the risk together.
I honestly think that's so huge. And like, say it a little louder for the people in the back, because that is truly like same. And I think so many couples, I think the difference is whether or not you're like, maybe not foolishly each other's cheerleader, like for everything, like, yeah, quit your job with no backup plan. Great idea, babe. Mm-hmm. But like, if you're just each other's biggest cheerleaders and you're in each other's corner and you guys like have your sight set on the sight line together. Yeah. And there's like literally nothing that you can't do, because when you are in that place of like abundance and positivity and connectedness, like shit just attracts to you. Do you feel that way?
100%. And then you end up with people who are like-minded like that. And like within our group of friends, and that's continually snowballed and grown throughout the past 15 years. It's like we all lift each other up in those ways. And that's like, I'm always a better together kind of scenario. And that's the thing. We're not like, hey, just quit your job or just do this recklessly. Like, whatever we do, we feel we believe in it and believe in each other. Not that we've never made bad moves. I mean, and I won't say this is a bad move because I'm very grateful for it. And it was fun, but it was the most stressful thing I've ever done. Was I owned a gym in Woodland Hills. It was a cardio boxing studio called Tap Out Fitness. And I had it for 4 years. Luckily, I sold it right before the pandemic because we were getting pregnant with Ellie. But I mean, he supported me wholeheartedly through that. And I was a financial advisor at the time. So I still like had income through that. But I mean, I worked 7 days a week all the time. It was my life. And it really like, before kids, and it was like, I put my whole heart and soul into it. And I'm so much better for it now. Like when I started the nonprofit, it felt like everyone's like, how are you doing that? I'm like, what? This is so fun.
Because if you can survive owning a gym, you can survive anything.
Yeah, exactly.
So take me back to the gym days for a second, because I know you had some famous clients. Like that was cool what you built there. And by the way, I think it's also interesting to hear because people think, and I've known so many of my friends are gym owners or boutique fitness brand owners, and from the outside, it looks really glamorous. Okay. They have like celebrities working out with them and this and that, and they're like, I didn't make a dime or I lost like $100,000. But it also doesn't mean it was for naught. It also could have just been a great stepping stone for different reasons. But I think it's interesting for people to hear, like, what was that like?
Yeah, I call it like my MBA. Luckily I ended up selling it and doing okay, like getting my money back. But yeah, there's a cost to it for sure. there was glamorous parts to it. Like we had Shaq come and record an episode of his like Facebook watch show called Big Chicken Shack. We spent the whole day with Shaq.
I love Shaq, by the way. He's the nicest, coolest
guy. There's one thing, I was at the front, they were like in between resetting something, and he saw my wedding ring. He's like, oh, how long have you been married? And at the time it was like 5 years. And he was like, oh, cool. I was like, yeah, my husband's right back there. And he goes, oh, he's hot. And so, no joke, on erickalver.com, he has a quote like from Shaq, he's hot.
That is a great story.
It was so much fun. I have pictures of like my hand up to his, and it was just like so cool to have this space. I felt so connected, obviously, to fitness and health. And it was getting into like the gym space of going to gyms as an adult, where I had left the sports teams, careers behind, right? And it just felt so fulfilling that I was like, I really would love to be in a gym all day. And I even early on in my sales career, it's outside sales, so like no one, and I was pretty good. I was like top performer, so no one's tracking you. And I was a hiking guide at the Biggest Loser resort in Malibu. It's like years ago, like 2010 or something. And I just really enjoyed like being around fitness. And I was like, let me see if I can make a career out of it. In the 4 years, I mean, I learned more than I think having an MBA would have done, and the networking too. One day, Dean McDermott walked in. I had no idea who he was, and we just totally hit it off. And then he was like, do you guys do anything with like influencers or things like that? And I was like, I mean, not really, but like open to it. And he's like, oh, my wife's Tori Spelling, and I was like, oh, shit, I had no idea. Which like maybe made it so fun that I hadn't seen all their shows and other things together, and they became such good friends. Dean, still good friends. And, Dean started boxing and coming in and working out. And we ended up like creating this lunch punch class that he taught. And we did this whole day where Tori really helped with their friend Vina, who's become a really close friend too. And did this whole like influencer day of boxing. And, some of my favorite like actresses and actors from growing up were like in my gym, and it was so neat and fun. But that's where you're like, that stuff is so cool. And that's like a life moment that there's pictures of me with Tori and Dean, and my mom was there in People it was on People Magazine and Us Weekly and this really cool stuff. But like that doesn't translate to dollars and cents when you have a local one small location of a business. And that's what I think's been so fun, switching to not being brick and mortar with the nonprofit, is like the idea that you can help people everywhere is something I don't think I would have understand how special it was unless I had the other experience of like local. And I mean, the members of my gym are some of my closest friends who I keep in touch with. Unfortunately, there's, when you think about a gym of several hundred people, there's a percentage of more than just me who have cancer. I've lost people who I met at the gym who were diagnosed after me to cancer. And it's like wild how we can support each other still in so many ways. It's like, it was a lot, but it was meant to happen for sure.